Okay, Ben, did we talk about these two things? Did we talk about this? This is how to design using a grid. I'd like you to take a look at that. I think I may have recommended that before. I'm not real sure if you did happen to take a look at it, but if you didn't, read this and please take a look at these articles on the grid, okay? Then there's kind of a part two to this guide right here, how to design using the grid, and that's over in our discussion board. This is week 6. This is last week's discussion board. See, week 6, critique, project 3. If you go all the way to the bottom of that, I don't know if you looked at this, but I made a video. Chris asked this wonderful, awesome question if I could do some pointers for him based on as if I were to approach this as a designer. And I thought that was a really interesting way for him to to ask questions. So I did this video and it kind of takes this grid idea to part 2. Okay, so take a look at that. And then you can see I've kind of rebuilt one of his pages adhering more to grid and alignment and general organization, placement, and proximity. Okay, so take a look at that. And then we have let's jump into your book. Okay, this typeface. I think it's a mistake to use this with these typefaces that you're mixing. They're too close together. They're too close looking. I think it's that Garamond, whatever flavor of Garamond, apple Garamond or something, and then that whatever I forget the name of it, but they're pretty close. I mean, they don't look that far apart. So I would switch one out to a sans serif. This is a modernist designer, so to me it would make sense to use a sans serif with a serif and mix those, preferably sans serif in the body copy. Okay, jumping back to this general page mechanics. Okay, this page right here I think is excuse me. I think it's a little haphazard. It seems like it's just kind of put together as like a placeholder. The background almost looks like a computer, um, a desktop for a computer, like a Mac desktop or a version of it. And I think the issue with that is that it definitely looks digital while we're talking about a traditional designer who didn't have much to do with digital design at all. More of a traditional designer. But yet you're showing the introduction with this digital background, which adds this really, really heavy digital feel to the piece. Contents, you don't need a contents page with just 12 pages. And then this headline here, we need to place this regularly in a page. See how it jumps around there, down there, up there, and then up there. So if it's a page introduction, make sure it's docked on the same spot on every page, and make it the same length too. Don't there's no reason to vary the length of that blue bar. Okay. My main concern about the composition presentation is the use of the grid, and I think that's why I recommended that you take a look at those. And let me give you an example here for this page. You've got this basic 4-column grid, and that's the first page, so that's the page that you want to use to set up your grid. So you've got this grid, 1, 2, 3, 4 column. Okay, then you have this subhead right here that stretches almost 2 columns. That's nice. This is nice right here, but over here you stick the Parsons, which kind of is like, I want to stick that there so we don't have to look at white space. Okay, so what's wrong with white space? We can use it as a design element. There's no reason to put things in places that there's no reason to put them. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't have to see the Parsons logo. We all know what Parsons is. Everybody knows Parsons. We don't have to solidify the meaning there by placing an oversized logo there and with the caption. Just don't need it. Okay, the other thing I question on this page, well, two other things actually, is the blue type with the blue background, and this. Why did you use this twice? Okay, so excuse me. You got the 4-column grid. Okay, this is stretching 2 columns, that's good. So technically, fundamentally, this page is good, solid adherence to the grid. Okay, this page, I think that you're just reluctant. A lot of your pages, I think you're reluctant to use white space, as I said. So you're pushing things to the borders. All right, there's no reason we can't just shrink that guy down and let the white space talk. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to have to be this big. Why can't it just be this big? Or you know? But make sure it falls within the grid. Okay? Now, let's think about the grid and turn the page. This page, I don't know what this page is or why it's here. So let's just turn the second page. Okay, now note the grid. Wow, did it just change? It just changed from this four column grid to, I'm not sure, a 3 column grid as it looks like with this. And then, and I want to show you how you can check that, okay? Here's your left hand page for the spread, okay? There's your center point, all right? In the center of that 4 column grid, I'm going to place my cursor. I'm going to leave it there and I'm going to turn the page twice and look where it lands. It lands right smack dab in the middle of your text. Where up here, it's in a margin. That says to me, broken grid. Conversely, we do that again. And you can do this if you want. You can say, all right, that's we could do that same test here. We'll take the cursor, put it up here, and let's check for grid. Okay, let's see. Okay, it looks like that. Well, that's not too bad, but okay, so maybe that wasn't the greatest example, but let's go down here and let's leave the cursor there, go there, it's breaking the grid there, breaking the grid there, and then that's the last page, so that doesn't count. So, okay, so do you see what I'm saying? So you've got this nice 4 column grid. Let's stick with it through the whole presentation, all right? Use this area consistently for your headlines. This headline right here, this setup right here is beautiful. Duplicate it right here on this page, same spot. Okay, use this page to set up the rest of your page, all right, the rest of your presentation. I would stick, let me see, okay, you've got this headline here, but it's different from the other headlines. So what gives there? Not sure. You're way short on type, and I think it's obvious. It really looks like you're striving to find things to take up place areas in the booklet. Now remember, for whole page of, there's just too much image. First and foremost, this is a type and layout class, which means that when this piece is being looked at and reviewed by your portfolio reviewers and possibly a hiring professional in your portfolio, the question is going to be, okay, if this is a typography piece, then why aren't you showing me type? Why are you showing me all this? You know, you can show Paul Rand's work and show it within a beautiful typographic layout without having to depend on these enormous graphics to try, quite honestly, to look like what's trying to just to take up space. Okay, this page, there's nothing that can compete with this graphic on this page. It's just so big, so dark, and so bright that the viewer is just not going to move on from that. Well, they are, but it's going to be to turn the page. So this stuff here, this has very little chance of getting read because the harmony and the balance of the page is off because of the demanding nature of the size of this graphic, okay? This page right here, again, so what is this needed? And that's another thing I want you to ask yourself on every page. Is everything on that page needed? Okay, on this page, is this needed? Table of contents, I don't think so. Is this in the background needed? Probably not. This, yes. Okay, what's needed here? Is the Parsons logo needed? No. Is the blue background needed? No. Is the blue text needed? No. Let's stick with black. Okay, what's needed over here? Do you see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things I think you can take away from a famous designer once said, how do you know when a design is finished? It's not when you can't add anything to it. It's when you can't take anything else away. And when you think of it, that's the essence of communication. Okay, so is this needed? This enormous image of Yale needed because he taught? No, absolutely not. Maybe a little tiny image of Yale, but not this big giant thing. Show us what you've learned typographically. Okay. Now, again, I hope I'm making sense. I don't mean to sound like I'm being negative on your piece. I don't. I just, you know me by now. My main intent is to leave this class with a solid portfolio piece. And as such, it needs to be to show good, solid page mechanics. And that's why I'm hammering the grid home like I am. Okay. I'm going to make this comment. All right. Do you want to work as a graphic designer? Learn the grid. I'm going to tell you right now, you learn the grid, you learn it inside and out, you show consistently that you know how to design with the grid, and you will get hired. I promise you that. Okay, any questions or comments, please feel free to give me a holler. Okay, thanks, Ben.